What's going on, guys? Jordan Anderson here. Welcome to another Nice Light Studio video. It is September 20, almost 7 in the morning. Been up since about, when did I wake up? 5:30, something like that. What I'm working on right now is I'm actually building a workshop that we're gonna host next week on creatoru.com. It's about goal setting. We are September 20, like I said yesterday, there's about 100 days left of the year. Or actually, I have my calendar here. It says 102 days left to the end of the year. So with 100 days left, that's a kind of a nice sprint, nice 100-day sprint. And I want to talk about today about goal setting, doing an annual review, my philosophy on it, how I think about goals, how I think about, does it all matter? Should you set goals as a business owner, as running your own online business? Should you set goals? Is it worth it? I've read books. I've read Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn's one of my favorite speakers. Of course, I've read Atomic Habits. I've read a great book. I'll even show you here. This one, Show Your Work. Love this book. And also books I've read about the Google Sprint guys. I think I have that one. It's Google Sprint. I'll put a picture up on screen if I don't have it here. What I've learned from all of these is that setting a goal, at least in my personal experience, setting a goal is not always the best way to achieve that goal. Because setting a goal in and of itself, to say, I want to make $100,000 this year, or I want to get 10 clients this year, is not good enough. And even the SMART goals. I've given up on SMART goals. I've given up trying to do SMART goals. Those are an outdated system. But with the goal itself, you say like, hey, I want to get, in the next 90 days, I want to get 10 clients. How? That's the next part. Because the next question is, okay, how? And then you are just kind of guessing. You're just trying to guess how to get to that goal. So instead of doing that, or say, hey, I want to get $100,000 this year. Next year, I want to earn $1 million. Cool. How? How are you going to do that? What's the steps? And when you go to make up those steps, when you go to, okay, well, all I have to do is this, you're guessing. You're just making up a plan. You think that's going to get you to the goal. So instead of doing that, instead of setting a goal and then playing the guessing game on how you're going to get to that goal, I would much rather focus on sprints, and I'd much rather focus on projects and tasks. Because I know with a project and a task, I can define it, and I know that I can get that same high, that same dopamine hit by achieving that project, by crossing off that task versus getting to the goal. I know that. So that's been my philosophy. It's started to emerge over this year with building Nice Light Studio. Dora and I, when we work together, we set out 2-week sprints. So we say from September 1st to September 15th, what are we working on? What are we going to focus on? And we try to make a realistic list of things that we can achieve in those 2 weeks. But we also want to push ourselves a little bit. And we get to September 14, we get to September 15th. So far, we're hitting about 80 to 90% of everything that we set out to do. We're crossing out the list. Now you'll have some things that on that task list, on that project list that weren't priority, or there were some big chunky projects in that little sprint that you really had to focus on, and then there were 2 to 3 little small tasks, small items that you didn't quite get to, but as you go through the sprint, you sometimes realize that those were so low priority that they could be pushed over to the next sprint, or they could just be pushed off the list entirely, which is helpful too. It's nice to have your to-do list and be able to take some things off that just don't matter or don't make sense anymore, or you thought they were important, and as you've gone through the steps and as you've gone through the projects and crossed things off, you realize they're not important, which I think is very relieving, as opposed to having this massive to-do list that just keeps growing and growing and growing, and as the task list grows over the year, your stress just grows. So it's nice to even just be like, yep, this is not important anymore. I thought it was important, but it's not. What else? So that's been our system. And yeah, when we get to the end of a sprint, when we get to the end of a 2-week sprint, we'll spend 1 to 2 days. So if it's, for example, September 1 to 15, we will spend September 15 and 16 reviewing everything and then making a new sprint list. We'll either look at everything that we didn't achieve and we'll kind of transfer some of those over to the new sprint list, or as you go through the sprint in that 2-week period, some ideas are going to pop up, some new things are going to pop up, and it's very tempting in that sprint to try to, okay, let's just go, I'll do this real quick for one day and then go back to my sprint list. And what we do is, if you have an idea, if something cool pops up, if some nice, awesome, brilliant idea or new idea for a project or new initiative or new marketing idea that we could try pops up, cool, store it as an idea and put it in the list on the next sprint, so that when we get to September 15 or 16 to plan out our next sprint, we can look at all the cool ideas that we came up with, and time will kind of render those. They'll kind of ferment a little bit, and you'll realize that yes, those ideas were a good idea and we should still continue this. Or, 10 days later, you look at the idea and you go, this does not matter. Okay, never mind. We'll just put this off to the side. We'll put this in the fridge. So that's my system. That's how I work. I like doing those small 2-week sprints. It keeps you focused. It keeps you don't have to do this daily habit stuff. You don't have to do this big goals, 100-day goal. Here's my yearly goal. It all just kind of trickles down into a sprint. And if you pile those on, if you do a 2-week sprint after a 2-week sprint, 2-week sprint, and you just keep piling on, achieving, there's a lot you can do in two weeks. You can achieve a big thing. You can make an entire online course. You can rebuild your entire website. You have, I guess, in the 2-week, how many 2-week sprints are in a year? About 25. Let's call it 20 to 25 2-week sprints in there. That's a lot of, if you knocked out 20 big projects, 20 big initiatives in the entire year, then you were going to move your business forward. And you're going to look back and be like, holy shit, I achieved a lot this year. That's my system. So now going back to the Creator You workshop that we're working on, I'm trying to make it a fill in the blank workbook. So I'm using ChatGPT a little bit. I'm talking about those influences. I've talked about Atomic Habits, Jim Rohn, Show Your Work, and then also injecting my own sprint philosophy in there to make a workbook for students. So when we run this workshop next week, that we're all going to sit together and build out our annual plan, and then inside that annual plan, so that when we run this workshop next week, that we are focused on the next 100 days. What are we going to do in this 100 days? We're not making an annual plan. We're not making a New Year's resolution plan. We've got 100 days left in the year from September to December. What are we going to achieve? We're going to break it down into 3 different sprints: month 1, month 2, month 3. What are we going to achieve in that month? And then we're also going to list out what our average day looks like. I was talking to Paul Reddick, and he talked about, one of his mentors said that it's not have a good day, it's have an average day. Because if you define what your perfect average day looks like, everything that you want to achieve, I woke up this morning, I woke up at 5 a.m., I did this, I created this content, I got these tasks knocked off, I talked to this many clients, I sent out this many emails. That's my average day. If that's your average day, then I hope you have an average day. I hope you have a lot of average days over and over, because if you have that average day that consistently achieves the task that you want to achieve and put you closer to your end goal, then I hope you have an average day. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the 3 months, 100 days, 3 sprints inside that, what 3 big things we're going to achieve inside those sprints, creating an average day. And then the last thing is to review a little bit about the mistakes that you've made. Here's the mistakes I've made this year. Here are the bad habits that I've developed this year. And then just bringing those forward, bringing those into your awareness, so that okay, last spring or a month ago, I got really distracted with this, or I started doing this bad habit. So I don't want to do that anymore. I want to just, for the next 100 days, if that pops up, if that bubbles up, if that temptation shows itself, put it away. So that's the 100 days. So it's nice to have, and then with the last part, bad habits, bad mistakes, also to create a contingency plan. What will happen when things go wrong? Because things will go wrong. In this next 100 days, we've got a lot of holidays coming up. We've got a lot of family stuff, travel. How are you going to still continue to achieve your goal? How are you still going to knock out the task list that you built for your sprint? How are you going to do that despite all the craziness, the holiday parties, going and traveling, staying at families' houses, like all that stuff, all the distractions that happen during the holiday season. How are you still going to achieve that? So baking that in, knowing that, okay, hey, if we have a holiday party on Friday, then I'm going to wake up Saturday and do this. Or if, you have to make the plan, because the plan's going to go wrong. You have to make contingencies. You have to know yourself, know the mistakes that you fall into, know the traps that you typically fall into, know the bad habits that you suffer from, and then work that into your plan. So that's it. So it's fun stuff. So putting this together, using ChatGPT to kind of talk a little bit about how to run this workshop, what prompts to give to people, what, even things like, hey, here's a good example of get their imagination flowing for this workshop. So it's going to be a fun workshop next week. Excited about it. That's it. We're rocking and rolling. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you on the next one.